Hi there everyone, and happy Thursday. This is my first live training session using Facebook Live. So fingers crossed this all works. Now today's training is all about planning for your business success. And it's a key approach that I have with all of my clients. All of them have their longer term goals documented, a plan in place for the next 90 days. And I'll explain to you that process. But I find a lot of businesses don't do any planning, and I want to share with you what some of the pitfalls are of not planning. And I understand why people don't, so I want to share with you some of the reasons that people don't plan, but also what you can do about it and some simple steps to take to really put a plan in place that's really going to help accelerate the achievement of your goals and create more success for yourselves. All right, so firstly, thank you for attending. Now, if you are live and watching this live, then thanks for taking the time. But if you're watching this as a recording or in an email link, then thanks for taking the time to watch it and to really take time to develop your skills, learn new skills, and hopefully put these sorts of practices in place. All right, so for those that don't know me, I run a business coaching firm called The Profit Coach. I've been doing this since 2005, so about 16 years. And I've got a broad range of experience working with lots of different businesses. And I generally help businesses that are already growing, established and growing, but need help better managing that growth. So the areas that I look at are strategy, planning, productivity, and overall business profitability. And as that fourth bullet point says, I generally work with growing family-ish businesses. So it doesn't have to be a family business, but generally it's a business where the owner is very family-focused, because that tends to align with my style and my approach and my values as well. And a lot of my clients have technical backgrounds, so they might be in trades, construction, manufacturing, engineering, or some sort of professional technical service. So they're great at what they do technically, but they've never really been shown how to run a business, how to learn those business skills that are fundamental to growing and running a successful business. Now, today's topic is all about planning, but what I want to do is first of all share with you where this topic fits into my business building model. So I've got a model that's very simple. I'm not going to go through it in any detail, but I always tell people there are three parts to every business, and that's represented by these three columns. So the first step is getting the work in the door. The second is getting the work done productively and effectively. And the last step is really getting paid, getting organized, making sure the back office is working. So, and then within each of those three areas, there are three other areas. So there's 9 in total. As you can see on the screen. And this topic of planning fits into direction. All right, so it fits into here. Now, I have other videos that explain my business building model in more detail, but as I cover off training over the next few weeks, I will help you understand where that topic fits into this model, so you get a better understanding of the model overall as well. All right, so before I cover off the 5 keys to planning successfully, I want to just cover off some of the common problems that I see people facing in this whole area of planning. First is they make it too complex. Now, it's for a bank, finance or something like that, they will need some sort of a detailed business plan, and normally quite a thick one. But obviously it takes a long time to put that together, and a lot of times it's not really a workable plan. It normally sits in the bottom of your drawer or up on a shelf, and you might feel good about having done it, but if you can't use it and if you're not referring to it regularly, then it's really not much use. So I try to keep it very simple. I'm going to share with you my one-page planning tool that's not only helps get all the pieces on the one page, but also it's a tool that you can use to help implement the plan and make sure you're getting things done. But I will also share with you some of the approach that I have to analyze a business and make sure we understand what the priorities need to be and what needs to be on that plan. Secondly, a lot of people feel that they're too busy to plan, and I can understand that. We're all torn in different directions, have lots of people that we need to respond to and help and so on, whether they're internal staff or whether they're clients. and there's lots of hats to wear in a business. But what I would just encourage you to do is just prioritize the time to do some planning. So whether it's planning your week and getting more structure in your week, or planning the longer term direction of your business. I know from experience that if you spend 15 minutes every week planning your week out and getting organized, you'll save hours in that week. And that's the same with long-term planning for your business. You know, if you, I'd normally have a quarterly planning approach with my clients, and I'll share that with you as well. But once a quarter, getting together, reviewing where you want to take the business, what the priorities are, what the projects are, and that will allow you to get so much more done in that quarter, which will then obviously lead you to achieving more longer term and achieving your, not just your business goals, but also your life goals, and allowing you to structure the business in a way so that you can spend more time with your family, giving back to the community, earning more money for all of the risks that you take. And lastly, a lot of people feel that planning is forced or unnatural. They'd rather just go with the flow. And I can sort of understand that, but at the same time, I know from experience that all it does, it leads to lack of progress, feeling frustrated, and you need to put a little bit of effort in to really make some massive improvements. Okay, it doesn't need a lot of effort. But I really want you to think about your business in a more structured way. Instead of just going with the flow, I like to think of business as ideally business by design rather than business by default. So design the business, what you want it to look like, what you want it to help you achieve, how it fits into your lifestyle, rather than just being torn all over the place by what's happening in the business, external factors, and you feel like you've got a lack of control. So even though you may want to just go with the flow, I do encourage you to spend a little bit of time thinking and planning for your business. And if you don't plan, and if you follow those mistakes that people make, then as I said, it leads to continuing frustration, lack of rewards, lack of return, and nothing changes. And it also means lack of growth and lack of progress. You might feel like there's all these people up here, these big dogs that these bigger businesses that are doing well, and you wonder, why are they doing well? How can I emulate them? And you're stuck not being able to grow, and just doing a little bit of thinking around how to grow, how to plan, what to improve, how to fix it, can make a massive difference. And I've seen it time and time again that people achieve all sorts of great outcomes once they do a little bit of planning. All right, so let me share with you the 5 keys to planning for your business success. All right, so the first is, really daring to dream. Instead of just getting caught in the day-to-day, just step out, step back, think about the big picture, and don't limit yourself to what your current situation is. Dare to dream about what's possible without the constraints that you might feel right now. The ability to do that will unlock so many opportunities for you. And I just want to share with you a bit of a framework, but also some quotes from people that we may have heard of. The first is Napoleon Hill. Now, he wrote a book called Think and Grow Rich. So it's all about thinking in the right way. And one of his famous quotes is, "Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can then achieve." Okay, so unlock the constraints that you have about what you think is possible. Dream about what you want, whether it's your personal life, whether it's your business goals. Think about that longer term, 3, 5, 10 years down the track. Second one's from Walt Disney. If you can dream it, you can do it. Obviously, if you can't think about where you want to take the business and where you want how you want your life to be different, you're going to be stuck doing the same thing. So I really encourage people to try to unlock those constraints. And this is a very, you may have seen this sort of framework before. We all want to get results, and that relies on us, the dreams we put in place, because if we can dream bigger, then we'll put in place bigger goals, we'll have a different plan to follow, obviously then take different action to create that reality. All right, so the bigger you can dream, the more chance is that you're going to have a better reality longer term. Okay. All right, the second key is don't be afraid to fail. A lot of people, well, not a lot, but a few people I know, they may decide not to plan because they don't want to not achieve those goals that they set. So don't worry about that. Everyone fails. You're not always going to get everything done on your plan, but even if you get 3 out of the 5 things done, as long as they're the right things, then you're definitely making progress and you're moving forward. If you try things and it doesn't work out, that's fine. It's all a learning process. So this is a great quote from Bruce Lee. Don't fear failure. It's not failure, but it's the low aim that is the crime. In great attempts, it is glorious even to fail, especially if we learn and we improve from that. Second one's Michael Jordan. I can accept failure. Everyone fails at something, but I can't accept not trying. And lastly, from Henry Ford, failure is the opportunity to begin again more intelligently. Okay, so as I said, it's a learning process. So don't be afraid to give things a go. Set goals. If you don't get there, that's fine. It's all about learning and about just revising and learning how to do it better. All right. So the third key I want to share with you is breaking it down. Breaking down those bigger goals, your dreams, into smaller chunks. And what I want to do is share with you my my iPad and share with you the 4 time zones of planning. So hopefully this shows up on the screen here. I'm just going to share with you, I'm just going to draw 4 boxes. And the first time zone is 3 years. All right. So that's where you dream a little bit, work out where you want to take the business longer term, what you want your life to look like. Don't be too constrained about how things are right now. Think 3 to 5 years down the track. Then based on those longer term goals, where do you see yourself in 12 months? Okay, so this time next year, what would you like to achieve? Then the next time zone is 90 days. And as I said, all of my clients have a 90-day planning process, and I'm going to share with you my 1-page plan that covers these 4 time zones in a minute. And then lastly, 1 week. So we've worked out what our projects are for 90 days. Now it's all about referring to that plan every week, working out what you can do this week to move you along with that plan. Okay? So you basically start here, go to 12 months, 90 days, 1 week. Okay? So they're the 4 time zones of planning. The next key is having the right implementation tools that help you plan simply and then follow that plan so you can actually implement that and get things done. At the end of the day, it's better to get things done rather than spend time on having the fantastic, perfect plan that you can't implement because it's too complicated. All right, so what I want to do is just share with you a couple of tools. Now, one of these is my, actually I think I've got that up next, is my 1-page planning tool. So there's a link either in this Facebook post or in the email that you've received that will allow you to download this tool. So this tool is pretty straightforward. I've got the longer term goals here. 10 years is very long term. And then we've got our 3-year goals, as I said in that those 4 time zones of planning, 12-month goals in terms of revenue, profit, the goals that you want to achieve. And then we have a 90-day project plan. So based on these longer term goals, what do you want to get done in the next 90 days? Who's responsible for that project? It doesn't need to all be you. And then what are the actions that you need to take each month to break that down? And then when you review this every week, then you can just look at, okay, this is month 1, it's December, and then next month and so on, okay? The other tool I want to share with you is, I'll just flick over to this here. This is a strategy questionnaire that I use with all of my clients to help really understand the issues, the longer term, what needs to improve in the business. So this is another tool to help you with your planning process. It's all about the big picture. Where do you want to be 3 years time, 12 months? We do a SWOT analysis, which you may have heard of. We do a self-assessment on your own self, and if there's multiple business partners, they all fill this out separately, because it is about understanding what you're strong in and areas that you need to develop and improve on. We also review your products, your types of customers that you currently have, what sort of customers you want in the future, competitor review as well, what marketing's working, what are you doing, what's working, and so on. My business building model, which we cover off. Who is responsible for different parts of the business, especially important if you've got a few key team members, and so on. Okay, so that's really a couple of the tools that I wanted to share with you, so you have a bit of an understanding of, there are some simple things you can use to get these things done, get a plan in place, follow a process, and and then have something then to follow to implement the plan later as well. And lastly, the fifth key is to share it with others. If you can share your goals, if you can share your plan, then it's much more likely that it's going to happen. Obviously, when I'm working with clients, we work on that together. They share their goals. I keep them accountable. But if you can share your goals with other people you trust that aren't going to try to beat you down and say that those goals aren't achievable, you want to obviously share it with the right people that are positive, that will encourage you. So your goals, share with them, but also your plan. If you can share your plan with your team or with someone else, it'll just make it more real. You'll put it out there, and there's a lot more chance that you're going to achieve it, because you've put it out there with to someone else, and you've got that self accountability or team accountability, depending on how you want to use that. All right, so that's really what I wanted to cover off. Really just a very quick overview of some of the pitfalls that people have when thinking about planning, some of the key steps that you can use to help with that planning process, and to maybe unlock some of the self-limiting beliefs that you might have around planning. So quickly, next steps. Firstly, as I mentioned, download that one-page planning worksheet. That's free for you to use. If you want to organise a free 15-minute business brainstorming session, then there'll be a link as part of that one-page planning worksheet download for you to book that in. And I'm happy to discuss some of the concepts I covered and how to apply those to your business. And also just to talk about business in general and what you might need to prioritise. Now, ideally, that brainstorming session is ideally suited to established and growing businesses. I can't help everyone, and so they're the sorts of businesses that I generally work with and work best with. And lastly, if you do want any options to help implement a plan, put a plan together, I've got a whole wide range of different things that suit different budgets, and happy to discuss that with you as well. All right, so that's it from me. I'd just like to thank you again for taking the time to watch this. And let me know if you need a hand with anything. Download that plan, and I will speak to you again very soon. All the best for now, and I'll just now stop this live recording.